So I'm going to relay four messages that I came across while shuffling the cards for you. And then we're going to go into your reading once I get all the cards laid out, okay? So I'm not going to lie, and you're a fire sign, and I feel like already it's bringing up some feelings, some stirring up some things within you. And so the energy for this month might be a little bit tenuous. It might be a little bit kind of like up and down for many of you. Let me talk about the first message that I feel coming through. It seems to me like you're trying to find ways to achieve financial stability. And I feel some of you are flirting with the idea of, taking on a second job. You might already have two jobs, trying to, make ends meet, taking on a third job, for example, or even taking on a second job to supplement your income. And I feel others of you, you're trying to figure out like how you can be a lot more competitive when it comes to your professional life. So you might be flirting with the idea of taking a job that helps you to, build up your experience, to pad your resume, even though the job pays very, very little. And so I feel like there are major big things that you're thinking about in terms of your work, your money, your career. And I feel like that might be kind of like front and center when it deals with, what you need to do to take care of that department of your life so that you can have the stability that you're looking for. I feel somebody coming in with a proposition for you. Like, do you want to do this? You can get residual income. Do you want to partner up with me? Do you want to, look at this option that I have? And I feel some of you working with creating something so that you can sell it and get, like a little bit of profit from that. So I do feel a lot of you are mulling things over, or looking at things, looking at options that are laid out in front of you, looking at them, like perusing them, looking at them very skeptically, which I feel is good. Don't jump into anything. This is, I feel like finances will be heavily on your mind, okay? Um, the second message that I have here is I feel like within your family environment, it seems like there's this love-hate relationship. It's like you can't live with them, can't live without them. But excuse me, I'm trying to adjust here. But what I feel happening is it's like they cause you a lot of stress. They cause you a lot of disdain. And then you both, like you go for weeks or months without talking to them. And then there's a family reunion. You get back together and everything is fine. And then, you know, it's like a cycle. So everything is fine. It comes back together. And then a few months down the line, there's the same issues creeping up again. And it's ongoing. It's very cyclical. And so I just feel like this is a natural progression of things. You know how to push each other's buttons. So I don't feel there's any malice coming out of it. I just feel as if this is something that, just anticipate, okay? When things are stable, enjoy the moment, enjoy it for what it is. And then when things are tenuous, just detach yourself emotionally, because I feel like you need to do that with some members of your family, okay? But I feel there's a lot of love there. And when the going gets rough, they're going to be there for you. The third message that I have here is I feel like the same message translates over to your romantic relationship. It seems to me like there's a lot of electronic back and forth communication. So I don't know if you're at a distance or if you are, you might have opposite schedules. You might be very busy. They might be in a nearby city, but, not in your immediate vicinity. So I feel like there's also that push, pull, love, hate factor. I feel like a lot of you, especially those who are coupled up, you're with somebody that really, really, financially, they're kind of rocky. And you're trying to give them all of these ideas, like you should do this, you should do that, and you're getting them very excited. But they're very risk adverse, so they're not going to be, implementing new ideas anytime soon, and I feel that frustrates you. I feel like you're dealing with somebody who is like very antisocial, or they're, I want to say like they might have social anxiety. They don't like to be around a lot of people. They might feel very self-conscious about going out looking for work. And so I feel like, on the one hand, you want to be that cheerleader for the other person and you want to egg them on, but I'm sensing that they're not emotionally ready to take that step. Okay? I'm also feeling like they question your values. They have different values. They have different upbringings, and they're questioning your values. And in a way that can be very exciting because the discourse, the exchange between the two of you, is forcing you to really confront what do you value. What are your values? Where do they lie? But then on the other hand, I feel like you both can be so different that it inevitably gets out of hand and it becomes a major discussion, a major argument. So there's that push pull love hate energy as well pertaining to your relationship sector. Okay, like a person you're either living with or a person that you're romantically involved with right now. Okay, so what I'm also getting as well is I feel a lot of people waiting on money. A lot of people waiting on money. And I'm sensing it might clear up for you very soon. Okay, so let me just move on to the fourth message here because the cards here says waiting on money. But let me move back to the fourth message that came out earlier. Um, I'm sensing for many of you, home is really important to you. Stability, roots, it's very important to you. And I feel like a lot of you, especially the ones that are really, really gung-ho about traveling, looking at new territory, exploring new areas, I feel like, yes, you have that. But then you always have like a stable home environment to come back to. And you value that a lot. And you, over the years, especially if you're in your 30s and 40s and beyond, you start to really appreciate that. And then I feel like for others of you, it feels to me like you're running away from the lack of stability that you have at home. So it's like if your home life was not stable at all, you're running away from that. You're running to try to find that, and you might have grown up with that. So then it becomes like your new normal. And now is really the time. And I feel this month a lot of emotional issues will kind of creep up. And we're just like, it's forcing you to confront, like, what am I running away from? Where am I headed? And things like that. So all of these big ideas, big theoretical issues, and especially hypotheticals as well, are coming up for us to re-examine, what are we looking for? What are we searching for? What do we really need to be happy? So that's the last message I have for you. So let me talk first of all about what they mention here, waiting on money, okay, because that came out very, very, very strongly. I'm sensing a lot of people that might be in a situation where there might have been conflict, there might have been like accidents, there might have been sickness, there might have been something very tumultuous like in a work environment as it deals with your financial situation. And I feel like you're caught up in some type of a legal entanglement, okay? So this can be, I do feel very strongly medical issues like getting in a car accident, um, having to undergo therapy, having to do some type of I guess like physical therapy, emotional therapy even, so that you can get, and then waiting on the compensation, waiting on settlements, waiting on these things, waiting on this decision of another person, another entity, or another group of people. So I feel like there's that element here about, waiting in suspense for either getting a job offer, waiting for a financial windfall to come through some type of legal issue, waiting for, work compensation as well, retirement, and, everything wrapping up. So your expectations, your financial situation is very tied up in another entity right now. And you have all of these ideas, all of these plans, once they finalize everything, I want to travel, I want to see the world, I want to go out, I want to go here, I want to buy a property there. But everything is so wound up with this decision that you're not able to make a move. And I feel like whenever your freedom of movement is restricted, physically or even like emotionally or mentally, it makes you feel really, really frustrated. And when you're operating in a place where you like this, where you're frustrated, um, you're not going to be in the right frame of mind to make the right decisions, okay? So distract yourself with other things. Take on some type of new creative venture, creative hobby, like do something to really make the time pass. Do something therapeutic as well. And I feel for you in particular, therapy. This is not something that you want to do, but I feel it might be really good for you. Journaling, doing something with your hands, a drawing, finding some type of a creative outlet so that you're not inundated by, all of my plans are on hold because I'm waiting on this executive decision. So distract yourself with other things. Do something else that adds value to your life, that adds meaning to your life while you're waiting for this to finalize. Otherwise, you're going to go stir crazy. And for whatever reason, if your physical freedom of movement is restricted, for example, if you're sick, if you're feeling under the weather, if you have, other things that's really like, I'm sensing health wise, lower extremities, like, legs from the hips down, that might really restrict your movement. So if you're, on the older end of the age spectrum and you're not as agile as you used to be, so you can't really, just walk around the neighborhood or do a marathon, I still feel that, some type of sedentary hobby might actually be good for you because it's going to help you immerse yourself in it and you're going to feel that sense of distraction, okay? And then for others, I feel like overall, there's a lot of people going out, walking about, knowing how to constructively dissipate this pent up energy. So I feel like overall, you're getting enough, exercise, physical activity, and your health is actually on the upward trajectory overall when it comes to, improving your health, improving your emotional, physical health, okay? So I feel like this is a very, very good month overall for overcoming, healing, getting a lot of healing work done, getting a lot of support, and feeling really realigned, okay? So I'm sensing that's a great thing that you're undertaking here. So they're saying here, financial worries are going to be a thing of the past, okay? And what I want to emphasize with this card is, because it's the first card that came out in this spread, is basically telling you enough's enough, move on, okay? So don't dwell on things, don't dwell on, the past, don't dwell on what could have been, because the time for you is to take care of your practical matters. This is a card about, being diligent, being practical, being pragmatic, figuring out what do I need to take care of and what have I been avoiding in the process of, dwelling on the past, ruminating on the past, and not getting things done for myself. Financially, where have I held myself back? Where am I feeling stuck? What can I do to improve my financial situation? So I feel like this is the month where, if you've kind of been skipping around, finding, like jumping from job to job, finding exciting work, that's great. And I feel, that's all nice and great. But I feel like the financial aspect of it is catching up to you. And I also feel this element about aging, like, it's almost screaming out like, we're no longer a child. We can't really bump around anymore. We can't really, rely on sleeping on the other people's couches anymore, relying on the goodwill and the assistance of other people anymore. We need to shape up and we need to straighten up and we need to start this by creating wealth for ourselves and to, find ways to have financial stability. Because I feel like financially, a lot of you need to look at your financial situation very carefully, okay? And you need to be very cautious about, this sense of like optimism. Oh, something will come in to save me. Something will come in and, to get me out of a dire situation. Because in the past, I feel like that was the case. But now you really need to kind of like smarten up and you need to, they're saying, grow up. And I don't mean that to sound harsh, okay, Sagittarius, but I feel like there might have been a lot of you, there was a lot of emotional spending. So that means spending your hard-earned money on things that you didn't need, things that were just of an emotional nature, things that might have appealed to you emotionally, but that were not good for you. But I'm sensing that a lot of you are reflecting on this financial stability, and you're trying to find ways like to either get a second source of revenue, thinking about stock options, investment. Not yet ready to take the risk, but I feel it's going to pan out for you. So stock options, investment opportunities, I feel like that would be really good for you. Just make sure that you get somebody, like a legal representative to be able to help you, somebody who's like savvy. Don't try to do this on your own. I feel like you might need some help, some expertise from another person that might know what they're doing, that might be, involved, and they know what they're trying to achieve, okay? Going back to what I mentioned here, I feel like for many of you, it just seems to me like in your relationship, you've got somebody here, and I'm sensing, first of all, they're saying like you need to ask yourself whether or not this relationship is balanced. Okay, so we have here a water sign. So this is a Pisces, a Cancer, or a Scorpio, and we have an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, or a Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Okay, so water sign and earth sign. And I feel like between you and this person, the energy can flow both ways. There's a little bit of a codependent energy, and it's not entirely bad yet, but it can get bad if it's not mitigated, if you're not, careful. So I feel like this, it seems to me like, a lot of the times this is a unhealthy relationship pattern that people don't know about. So if you're dealing with somebody who is very emotionally irrational, right? And you choose to stay with them, even knowing that there's no way they're going to change, and things like that. But I feel like some of you are staying in it because their emotional irrationality is like, you know, um, in opposition to you. It makes you feel like you're the one in control. Okay. And then likewise, they're staying in a situation, your partner can be staying in a situation. If you're the one that they're like, you're so emotionally irrational, then it gives them the upper hand because they're in control. So I feel like there's some power struggle, some dynamics in the relationship. If it's not flushed out, if you're not careful, I feel that it can become very codependent. That's what I'm sensing here. Because I feel like somebody is idealizing the situation, and I feel like somebody's ego is being stroked. And so both parties are getting, what they need from the relationship, the overly romanticized, aspect. And one person is getting a lot of ego stroking. But over time, how is that going to play out? Okay, so you want to be a little bit careful, really re-examining the motives for this relationship and whether or not the other person has enough to give you emotional support, emotional, satisfaction, whether or not they are there for you when you need them, like on the practical front, whether or not things are balanced. Because I feel like, yes, you like them. There's a lot of, good vibes here. I feel like you like the other person, they like you, but it just seems to me like you're turning your back on this, and it's telling you, is the situation balanced, or are you looking at this through a very idealistic lens, okay? So what I'm also sensing as well is I feel like you're dealing with another person too, and I feel like this is coming through in the work environment, okay? A lot of uncertainty here coming in the work environment. So especially if you're working on a client basis, you're just like, I'm investing so much into calling this client, but what if it doesn't work out? So I feel like you've invested a lot of time into something, and you're still waiting for things to pan out. So this month is a lot about waiting. It's a lot about, having to put a lot of things on hold for yourself because you're waiting on the decision of another person. And so, find ways to distract yourself, pick up a new hobby, find other ways for you to use your time constructively, okay? And so there is a situation here with the work environment where I feel like something recently was revealed in this work environment. Maybe an investigation, maybe somebody not following protocol, somebody doing something shady, like not following the chain of command, not doing things in a procedurally correct manner. Something recently came to light in your work environment. In your job search as well, for those of you who are looking for work. And I do feel like you're getting frustrated. Be careful if you have a partner, if you have a family, if you're whoever you're living with, don't bring this energy home, because I feel like a lot of the times I see you bickering here. I see you kind of like at cross purposes with coworkers, and I feel like it might be best for you to leave that energy at work rather than bringing it home, because I feel like it can also, be an extension and destabilize your home life, okay? You're ruled by the planet Jupiter, and I feel like, a lot of the times, if you're frustrated, things just get out of hand. So just be careful about managing your emotions and dealing with frustration in a more constructive manner, because I feel like there's some frustration here, either with coworkers, people you work with the work that you do. A lot of you might be in a position where you're doing a lot of quality control. You're doing a lot of like having to deal with disputes, having to deal with problems, like having to be the person to fix everything, the fixer-upper. And it's tiring, it's wearing you out. And I do sense that on the one hand, you like the responsibilities that come with it. You take pride in your work. But on the other hand, emotionally, it can be very destabilizing, okay? So the last message that I have here based on this spread, health issues, emotional health in particular. I feel like physically you guys are in a really good space. And physically, I feel like a lot of Sagittarius people are built very strongly, okay? So I feel that emotional health, this is something that you need to take care of, because I feel like this card is coming out, and because it's showing up as a water sign, it just feels to me like there are things that you're still dwelling on. There are things that you're trying to get answers for. So if there has been like, symptoms and you're trying to get diagnosed, you're trying to get like a prognosis, it might indicate some type of I feel like, lack of answers, lack of clarity regarding medical diagnoses, as well as, some emotional or spiritual like problems creating or manifesting itself in a physical way. So it's like a mysterious symptom, and you're just like, I wonder what's wrong. And so get things taken care of. Get a second opinion, get a third opinion if you need to, okay? So I feel like that's coming in. And honestly, Sagittarius, if people have walked away, if people have shown their true colors, let them be, okay? If it's meant to come back, I feel that it will come back to you. But I feel like there's this cyclical pattern here about, family members and things like that, where they're not operating at their best and they're creating strife in your life. It's like you can't really agree to disagree even. So if that's the case, just leave it alone. And then, if it does choose to come back, it's gonna be it's gonna be still cyclical, okay? So we're gonna go into your love relationship reading. Let's see what's in store for you guys. Take things very, very slowly for this month. You're going to feel very emotionally excitable, and you're going to act on an emotional impulse. And I don't feel that's going to be good for you, okay? So take things very, very slowly. I see you like, gesturing a lot with your hands, feeling very excited. And that's a good thing, but I feel just, planetarily speaking, might not be a good time for you to, rush things or to jump jump too far ahead or to project too far into the future. It might not be a good time to do those long-term planning situation when it comes to your emotional life, okay? And I feel like there is a lot of idealism in your relationships. So you're not seeing things clearly right now, Sagittarius. So just take your time. Let things, play out, okay? Don't jump the gun, and don't just try not to do anything rash and too fast, okay? So let me pull out. Okay, let me talk about this first because I feel like it might be helpful. Okay, so let me just say this. Once again, for those of you who are coupled up, you're with somebody that, knows how to push your buttons, that drives you nuts. And I feel like it's a love-hate, push-pull type of a relationship. And I'm sensing many of you are just like, you like the other person. They're not a bad person. They like you, and like there's that sense of that strong attraction with one another. But with this card here, the Temperance card, it's sort of like having, it's a situation where when you talk, you have to be careful about holding your tongue. And you feel like you're doing the tongue holding. You feel like, oh, I'm keeping myself in check. I'm cautious about what I say because you don't want to, cross the line and hurt them and say hurtful things towards them, right? So you feel like you're the only one doing this. And you feel like, whatever they're saying, they don't have to watch what they're saying. They don't care if they hurt me. And so it just feels to me like something is not fair, and you're starting to realize this. And you also feel like, you're not a sign that likes to curb their tongue. You're very honest, you're very straightforward, and in as few words you like to get at the truth. So I feel like you're dealing with another person that just can't really see eye to eye with you. It's like, you're both different species. That's what it feels like to me. And so when it comes to relationships overall, opposition is not always bad. It's not always harmonious, but I feel like if you're dealing with another person and there's so much, um, disagreement between the two of you, like down to the very little detail. Do we dice the tomatoes or do we mince the tomatoes? For example, um, it can make things very difficult. Okay, so I really would like it if you can take more time to explore another person rather than jumping the gun. Do I break up? Do I move on? I don't feel this is the month for you to make that type of a severe decision, okay? On the other hand, I am sensing as well, the idealism in your relationship is starting to wear off, okay? We have here the Death card, and the Death card is about moving on. It's about really figuring out maybe this is not the right person for us, and maybe we need to find somebody that is a lot more, in alignment with us. So I do feel like for some of you, you're with somebody and there's just that sense of like it's not right, like you like them, they like you, but it seems like something is off. The chemistry is off. Something is off about this relationship, and you're going to be moving on from it. You're going to be grappling with this decision. So it's not a light decision that you're making. So you're assessing, you're weighing out pros and cons. You're weighing out financially, is this a feasible decision for me to stay with this person? And you're also weighing out, am I compromising too much of this with this person? Do I have to walk on eggshells around this person because I have to curb my tongue? Do I have to, steer the conversation away from certain topics because it's too tenuous and it's going to create conflict? So I feel like you're tired of tiptoeing around. You're tired of having to beat around the bush, and you're tired of being the one to accommodate them. I still feel overall, this card came out in the reverse, and this is the classic seeing eye to eye, knowing how to advance ahead with the other person, it did come out in the reverse position. So I feel like you're with somebody that is a really good person. I do sense that. And I also feel like for between the two of you, there's more than enough there to make the relationship work, okay? But I feel that career, values, money, all of these things are not stable enough in your life right now to make this relationship for you to indulge in, and for you to have that luxury to indulge in this relationship. So I do sense some of you are going to be moving away from it, okay? The foundation here, we have the Judgment card, and we have the Hermit. The Judgment card, so the foundation is something that you already know, okay? The Judgment card basically indicates, making decisions, getting feedback, making some type of a big, large decision with another person, and trying to decide where to go, trying to decide, what are the next steps. So I feel like if you are in particular involved here with another person, I feel like this is a really hard decision where you're trying to make a decision for your greater good. Okay, this is not just like, oh, I don't like that person, so I'm not going to date them. This is something a lot more, it's a lot deeper, and it's sort of like, how is this person going to make me a better person? What am I learning from this person? And what are they learning from me? So I feel like you're entering relationships in the spirit of growth, in the spirit of advancement. And so you're not in a position now to, date around and just have fun. I feel like you're looking for substance. You're looking for meaning, and you're looking for something a lot more long term. I am feeling for some of you, I'm sensing for some of you, if you are like dealing with an earth sign in particular, or Virgo, there might have been some recent developments that came out as a result of, something, some event, some revelation, some news, some like something you just stumbled upon, where it changes whether or not you trust this person, whether or not you trust in the safety of the relationship. If you're dealing with an earth sign, so Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, I feel like some news has recently come into the picture and you're assessing it and you're just like, are they being truthful? Are they being faithful? Are they being honest? Can I really trust them? Can I really trust this relationship? So I feel that element coming through where you're re-examining things, okay? In the past, we have here the Chariot, and we have here the Five of Cups. The Chariot, especially in this deck, the Chariot basically means two people who are really, really different. So I feel like you might be dating somebody who's culturally different from you. Even if you're like ethnically, linguistically, nationality-wise in the same, on the same boat, I feel like the way you're raised, your values are really, really different. This is a card about two people who are very different, trying to make things happen. So it's like you're overcoming a lot of odds to stay together. You're overcoming a lot of opposition because you trust in your relationship. And also because you both have been in a lot of disappointing relationships. So when you find each other, it just feels to me like, you're putting too much meaning into the relationship and you're just like, that's the one for me. He's been through exactly what I've been through. So, or he or she, and that's the one that's for me, because I feel like you both have come from places where you have dealt with pain, rejection, betrayal. And so when you meet each other, you tried your best to make this one work. Okay, even though you know that you're very different and you know that it's going to be difficult. And so for this month, which takes us to the present moment, we have here this Ace of Swords. And the Ace of Swords basically means, for the time being, you're going to have a lot of success. You're going to be able to communicate with each other. And also, this is a card about, cutting through the illusions, okay? The Seven of Cups is about illusion. It's about fantasy. It's about, like, having those lofty dreams, unrealistic expectations, or at least, loving the fantasy of a person rather than the reality. So this is a month in which you're going to be able to slash through all of these fantasies, see your love relationship for what it is, whether or not the other person has enough wisdom and insight to be with you. Whether or not financially, this is a good relationship for you to stay in. Five of Pentacles is usually, financial hardships. But in relationships, it usually denotes a situation where through thick and thin, the other person is going to be with you. And I feel like that might be the case. Okay, so if you're dealing with an earth sign, in spite of everything, this is the month in which earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. This is the month in which you're going to have to cut through all of these illusions. And you're going to have to, honestly, Sagittarius, learn to put yourself first, because it feels like you're putting other people's needs first, and it feels like you're idealizing a relationship. And I feel like it's below expectation, and you're giving it another try, hoping things will change. And I feel like the person that you're dealing with, so we have here an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, they're not very financially stable within themselves. I'm also feeling as if they're so different from you that there's going to be a lot of opposition in the future as well. So, but I do feel like, they're honest. I do feel they have a lot of, they've been through a lot. They have a lot of resilience. They don't just bounce when the going gets rough. And I feel that's what you really admire about them, because I feel some of you have a tendency, when things get too difficult, you run away. And when, things get too claustrophobic, when things get too intimate in a relationship, you bounce. And I feel like this person has sustaining power, and that's why you admire them, because opposites attract, right? Single people. I feel overall this is a month. So we have here the Seven of Cups. And the Seven of Cups basically means, I feel like if you are dating, there's somebody that's really gunning for you. So we have here somebody looking at you from far away. They're seeing you and they're seeing all the options. And I feel like they're really making, like beelining it for you. So I do sense that here. And I feel like you should not take things slow. You should not rush things, okay? Take it very slowly, especially if you're dating, and keep your options open. I feel like there is a very strong earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, coming into the picture for those who are single. Very, very strong. And I also feel, I'm seeing Scorpio. I'm seeing a Scorpio energy. I just did the thing for Scorpio, but I feel like earth sign, water sign. So Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Take things slow, because I feel like don't rush this one, okay? There are too many, there are just too many things this month. I feel like you might have two options to choose from. For example, you might need to date them both, okay? You might need to find the one that you really see eye to eye with, the ones that, really make you feel as if you're the only person in the room. And I feel like that you like that. You want to feel special. And so take things very, very slowly, drag out the dating process, and see who jives well with you, because I feel like just, there's a tendency here to rush. There's a tendency here to idealize, and rather than looking at a situation realistically, okay? But it's really good for singles, I feel, overall. And I feel like couple people, you're still deciding on a major relationship, like what to do with it, okay? I wish you the best, Sagittarius. I hope the financial situations, alleviates for many of you, so that you're not so worried, okay? It's not fun to be dating when you have, financial worries and concerns, and month for that, okay? So don't worry too much. I'll be back for the mid-month reading, and if you'd like to book an appointment with me, my website is in the description box below. If you click on the website and you click on the type of appointment that you like on the website, it shows you my availability. It shows you, time zone. You don't have to convert time zone. Just enter your time zone, okay? I wish you the best.